Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor, joining us sans tie, very casual down south. And Doug Schoen, and you look good. Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor as well. And here on set with me, John LeBoutelier, former Republican congressman for New York. Gentlemen, good to have you.
Good
All
to
right,
be here.
So nothing happens without the context of what's going on in the world. All of us at a heightened alert. Here in New York City, we were told last weekend, high alert after that ISIS video was threatening our military, our police, so on and so forth. Have not heard who could have done this near the residence of the vice president. But the Secret Service now being looked at, because they have a huge task with our high-profile politicians. Your thoughts? And
they've been under fire for incompetence and pathetic security for the last year or two, and bad behavior and changes in the leadership. And it's a shame. It used to be the Secret Service was the gold standard of federal agencies that you had total faith in. But under this administration, like everything else, it's gone to hell in a handbasket.
We should say that this happened outside the Secret Service perimeter. I do want to say, I talked with a former Navy SEAL, someone who has worked with Secret Service agents on different assignments in his career, and he had this to say. Let's watch.
What I'm starting to see is a failure again and again with Secret Service to forward think these things and stop the people from accessing it before it even happens. All right, so what Jonathan Gilliam was telling me is, look, the Secret Service is doing a great job at the things that they're doing, but he said no one should have even had access down this road. With the vice president there, with all that's going on in the world, do you close off a public road, Pat?
Well, I think you can do certain things. You could have done that. I mean, we don't really know what happened, whether it was really shots or backfires or something. But, you know, it alarms everyone for the proper reason. I mean, that's a pretty Tony neighborhood that the vice president lives in Delaware. And, you know, if it was gunshots and it was outside the perimeter, everyone's mind must go to what's going on in Europe and all of these different cells and wolves and people doing things. So it's just another thing to up the ante. But at this point, I'm not prepared to jump up and down, and we know what it is.
No. Brilliant. All right, let's move on. Doug, I want to talk politics with you because we have a lot going on in the world. And I know one of the things that we're watching today is this ramp up in Belgium, these terror sweeps looking for people who are attached to these cells. We're learning more and more about how many of these sleeper cells could be in our country.
Well, we don't know the answer to that, but I think it's more than zero. Put another way, Harris.
Right.
I think there is every reason to believe that we are facing the same sort of threats, very tragically, that came to a tragic reality in Paris, I guess 10 days ago or thereabouts.
Yeah.
But there's a larger issue. Our security around the world is in jeopardy. We are not safe from ISIS, from Al-Qaeda, anywhere. Iraq still is hanging in the balance. Syria has become literally a launching pad and a breeding ground. We need a strategy. We don't have one. And with the ramp up in anti-terrorist activities, which we all support in Europe, we're seeing how substantial and extensive the problem truly is.
Well, Doug, come on now. We need a strategy. The chief strategist for this type of thing is the Secretary of State, and he arrived a week late in Paris this week. But don't worry about it. He brought James Taylor along to sing You've Got a Friend, which is the most sophomoric thing I've seen since I was a sophomore in high school. And I think the next step is he's going to go to Moscow with Paul McCartney and sing Back in the USSR.
Okay, let's stop there. Because some of the news and the headlines that I read coming into the segment that's happening right now is Russia.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Well,
the thing you had on there about the thing in eastern Ukraine rages on and on. Have we heard the president for months talk about this thing? This is an overt invasion of a sovereign country. What are we doing about it?
You know, it's interesting, and I don't want to go backwards, but it's worth at least asking a question. So you had Russian leader Lavrov. You had Abbas with the Palestinian Authority. You had Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. You had all these leaders at that march in Paris. It was more than just about what was going on anti-terror in Paris last Sunday. You had opportunity to maybe, I don't know, do they have sideline talks?
Yes, of course they do. And where was the leadership of the Western world? Where was the leadership of the most important country? Absent. No one was there. That's why I say Kerry was a week late. Kerry should have been there.
Pat?
Well, at least he or Biden or someone, the president should have been there. You know, of the James Taylor moment, as I started to say, was I thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit when I saw it, but it turns out to have been real. You know, here's the problem. The president leadership, there was a Rasmussen poll today which shows that the number of people who believe that our allies should do what we ask them to do has dropped from just the end of 2010 from 65% to 39%.
Wow.
And most people are going to don't know because they don't know, but they don't think our allies should do something. I think it's a reflection of how they know that the president is not leading. When you release 5 hostages from Gitmo,
no, we don't call them hostages.
Prisoner, detainees.
I'm sorry.
Terrorists.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm channeling Obama or someone. Yes, our detainees, our detainees. 5 of them on the. You know, when you have all of these crises happening and Cameron coming, you have the president will not use language where every leader in the world, including the Egyptian president, is talking about the Islamic extremists who are hurting Islam itself. And the president won't have anything to do with this. And, you know, in the movie The Last Emperor, the tutor to the king, to the emperor, little emperor, the child, said, when asked about words, said, words are important. They allow us to say what we mean and to mean what we say. The president's lack of words, as well as the words he used, is doing exactly that. It means I don't want to lead. This is interfering with my war with Republicans. I don't want to go here. I don't want to lead the world. I did what I did in Syria because in Iraq because it was the least I could do. This is not leadership, and right now we need it.
Doug?
Well, I think Pat states it very well. We do not have a global strategy to deal with terror, to strengthen our ties with our allies like Turkey, to stop the infusion of radicals to Syria and around the world. But just to provide a little context, Harris, the so-called separatists, which is really the Russian government, retook the Donetsk airport in eastern Ukraine. The separatists have vowed to take back every bit of territory that the Ukrainian government has reclaimed. And as I think Pat and John made very clear, the silence from our government has been deafening. Look, we all want the best, but candidly, as we go into the State of the Union, I don't think we need a series of proposals that we'll be talking about later. We need a strategy to deal with global terror, a strategy that is sadly lacking.
All right. So from Twitter, and you know, I know you were joking about this, John, so somebody has one back for you. Wild, it says, no, the James Taylor song should now be changed to Just Call My Name and I'll Be There Next Week.
Yeah.
Your last thought?
Well, I think that all these things are actually very related. I think that.
How so?
Because the opponents of America read weakness wherever they are. So Putin reads it. Tehran certainly reads it and is exploiting it by cheating on the agreement that they presently are operating under. Certainly the PLO, Hezbollah, all this stuff, they read America as weak and they take advantage of it with very little penalty.